guys. I'd like to start the day off with a little bit of a story. So one day, I got a call from a client we have at work out in Granville about an issue with their server. And it's a very old kind of thing. It's not something I'm really too familiar with. But, you know, my boss, the owner of my company, was. And so I go to his office and ask him what to do. Before I can finish what I'm telling him, before I can finish explaining the issue, he says to me, "Do you have a shirt that you can wear that doesn't make you look like a homeless person?" I just made me pause. I wasn't hurt or offended or anything like that. If anything, I was more confused. I was wearing, the company polo. I had the logo on it. I had my slacks on that I wear, and I had flannel to keep warm because, despite it being like 60 degrees 3 days before, it had been snowing for 3 days straight at that point. And then I thought, would it be a bad look to hire a homeless person? Did a client think I was homeless? And then it struck me. It was just a single word: vanity. We, both in the world and in the church, are so concerned with appearances, with facades. We're human, I think these things are natural. And from an evolutionary standpoint, we feel a sense of revulsion when we see something that we think is gross or unclean. As a defense mechanism to protect us from disease. We want to get away, scrub ourselves clean after playing in the mud or after a long day of hard work. And that's fine. But we need to thank God that He was not involved. Revelations 21, 5 and 6. I'll give you a minute if you guys want to join me there. And we won't do the call and response thing, but I'll give you a minute. That is Revelation chapter 21, verses 5 to 6. And he that sat upon the throne said, "Behold, I make all things new." And he said unto me, "Write, for these words are true and faithful." And he said unto me, "It is done. I am the Alpha and the Omega, the beginning and the end. I will give unto him that is athirst of the fountain of the water of life freely." God does not care how we adorn our fleshly bodies. He will not give us a special place in heaven because we can afford tailored suits or because we had a designer bag. God sees our souls. He sees our actions. 1 Samuel 16, verse 7 says, "But the Lord said unto Samuel, Look not on his countenance, or on the height of his stature, because I have refused him. The Lord seeth not as a man seeth, for man looketh at the outward appearance, but the Lord looketh on the heart."
Yes.
And the sentiment is echoed again in 1 Peter chapter 3, verses 3 to 4. "Whose adorning, let it not be that outward adorning of the plaiting of the hair, or of the wearing of gold, or of the putting on of apparel. But let it be the hidden man of the heart, in that which is not corruptible, even the ornament of a meek and quiet spirit, which is in the sight of God of great price." Our value is not our paycheck. It's not our net worth, not our ability to look young and beautiful. Our value is to each other and to the Lord, to our communities, and improving the strength and ability of those communities to come together when it counts. There's a line from an old play that was popular around the time of the Revolution that illustrates the abject slavery that is vanity and kind of the absurdity of it. And the line is, "The fat, shiny glutton looks up to his shelf. The wrinkled, lean miser bows down to his pelt. And the curl-plaited beau is a slave to himself." That's not to say that, I think everyone should let themselves go and live as wild men in the forest. God expects us to take care of ourselves. But then again, why not stand out? Why not be different? Moses stood out as a prince of Egypt. Solomon stood out as a king of Israel. And Jesus stood out as the Son of God. It is always about how they physically appeared, because we have every reason to believe Jesus was very unremarkable in appearance. But it's also about how we live. We know the rules God has for us in our conduct. But why do we follow them? Do we understand them and what they are and where they come from? We run the risk, if we do not know these, of becoming like the Sadducees, where we have a perfect understanding, where we have perfect knowledge of the law, but no understanding of it. We fail to understand it as a gift from God, proof of his love for us. We run the risk of becoming as foolish as they were, blinded by our own self-perceived piety and our ignorant to our failings and our duties to God and the Great Commission. Proverbs 26:12 says, "Seest thou a man wise in his own conceit? There is more hope of a fool than for him." We can make all the claims we want about what we believe, and we can act like saints for at least a couple of hours on Sunday. What about after when we all go to lunch and our food's taking longer than we'd like, service is slow? What do we do? What about the next day when we come into work and we're tired, we're dreading the day, we're stressed, we're not happy? What happens when we have the opportunity to get some petty revenge? It would be so easy for all these things to let the anger slip out, and more often than not, who would know? Are we afraid of the consequence in that moment? Do we care about the consequences later on? Do we think that far ahead? But this is one of those unpleasant, though perfectly normal thoughts to have. But it's not about what we deem natural or normal. God is the arbiter of these things. Paul in 2 Corinthians chapter 4, verse 2, reminds us the vows we take, the promises we make to God by claiming to be a follower of him. But having renounced these hidden things of dishonesty, not walking in craftiness, nor handling the word of God deceitfully, but by manifestation of the truth, commending ourselves to every man's conscience in the sight of God. That's to say, in so many words, that we are above these things. We must walk upright and honestly as God intended. As God fed the Israelites with manna in the desert as they wandered, we are fed by his word and nourished, that we may not be, as Proverbs 26:11 says, my favorite verse, tells us, as a dog returning to its vomit, and as a fool to his foolishness, and repeat our mistakes due to a lack of knowledge. And before I let you all go, I want you to be reminded of the words of the great Russian author and Christian Fyodor Dostoevsky. He said, "To love someone is to see them as God intended." And as a teacher, I'm contractually bound to give everyone at least a little bit of homework today before I let you all go. I want you to look into the face of a stranger or someone you know, someone you never spoke to before, someone you love, or someone you just can't stand to be around, and try to see them in the most difficult way that you can, in the way that God made them and sees them.